In the second episode, we saw that the ghost son became the talk of the town at his sister's school. Sunji then takes him on an adventure, following the White Tiger Guild to demonstrate the dangers of hunting. However, as expected, the portal turns red, trapping them inside, and the team splits. Sun's group sticks together, while the other team targets the cave leader. Sun and his group enter the forest, encountering tanks. Sun defeats them alone, then hunts a tank solo to test his Zlal soldiers. He is impressed by Argath's strength, who easily defeats the tank leader. Before today's episode, like this video to help us reach 10,000 likes, and subscribe for updates. Also, send blessings upon the Prophet, peace be upon him. Back to Sun, standing before the tank corpses. When he says rise, all tank shadows, including their leader, join his army. The tanks stay with Sun, while the other team targets the cave leader. Sun and his group enter the forest, encounter a tank, and Sun defeats them alone. He then hunts a tank solo to test his Zalal soldiers, surprised by Argath's strength, who easily defeats the tank leader. Like, subscribe for updates. Bless the Prophet. Back to Sun at the tank corpses. He says rise, and all tank shadows join him. Outside, Yoon notes 3 hours passed, 3 days inside. Dongsu notes Sun's absence, asks, your hat? Sanj invites them to raid. They agree. Dongsu concludes, that's it. He grabs Sanj. Think I'm a lion? Your talk's ridiculous. You're right, but don't relax. I know you can't resist hunting, and it wasn't coincidence. Outside the portal, Yoon stands, noting 3 days passed inside. Dongsu asks, isn't that your hat? Sanj invites them to join the raid. Dongsu concludes, that's the conversation. He grabs Sanj saying, do you think I'm a lion? Sanj tells Dongsu, let go of me. He agrees to join the raid. Dongsu calmly says, that's the whole conversation. Suddenly he grabs Sanj by the collar saying, do you think I'm a lion? This slave talk is ridiculous. You're right, but don't take it easy. I know you can't resist hunting and it wasn't a coincidence. Sanj grabs Dongsu's hand saying, let go of me. Dongsu challenges, do you think you can face me? You'll be in trouble with the government. Yinhu intervenes, let go of him. The conversation heats up and they activate their powers, ready to clash. Sanj on the ground says, we need to stop them or a war will break out. Here the conversation is heating up as both of them activate their powers and get ready to clash with each other. Sanj warned of war if the fighters weren't stopped. Ignored, they clashed, causing an explosion. We retreated through the portal, finding a shivering figure lamenting their lack of gear. Sun had defeated all the tanks, but neither of them is paying attention to that. They are both hitting each other with all their strength and an explosion occurs. We go back inside the portal and see someone walking, shivering, talking to himself. He says if they had the right equipment, they'd defeat the ice demon. As he walks, he reaches the battlefield where Sun is fighting the tank and finds a pile of corpses in front of him. He realizes why no tank has appeared before him. Sun has taken them all out. He tells himself it's impossible. He raised them and they are weak. He then runs off towards the forest. Outside the gate, we find Jinshul standing between Dongsu and Yunho. Dongsu tells him, no, don't come from you guys, what the hell is this? Jinshul replies that his arm would have been destroyed by now if it weren't for him, stopping the attack at the last moment. He doesn't know what's making him obsessed with the arrow like this, but he checked it himself 2 months ago and is completely sure about his rank. This means that his brother was killed by the monsters in the cave. He tells him, this is what you guys are saying to people, but I know that the one who killed my brother is this kid with that rank, not anyone else. Here he asks, if that's the case, why are you targeting Sun? He answers him that all of this is just an excuse, nothing more, because he just wants to kill anyone, plain and simple. After that he receives a message, so he looks at his phone, annoyed, saying that Sun is lucky, and then he walks away. He's watching, thinking he's like his brother. Both share a similar fate. He knows Sun's strength and believes he'll exit safely. Meanwhile, Barab is confident in his own strength and safety. We leave them to those watching the weak team by the fire, relaxed. This annoys him, and he tells them the attack team was wiped out due to lack of weapons while they sit idly. He asks, who was responsible for the equipment? So he annoys them and tells them that the attack team was completely wiped out because they didn't have the right weapons and you guys are just sitting here as if nothing's happening. Who had the equipment? You want it and leave us to die. He realizes she knew everything, choosing Sun. He draws his sword, accusing them of his team's murder. As he attacks, Sun appears, pins him down, saying, you came after your team's death, bringing enemies here, fool. He draws his sword and approaches her, accusing them of his team's murder. At 3, he attacks, but Sun appears, slaps him and pins him, saying, you came after your team's death, bringing enemies here, you fool. He confronts him. He then faces the emptiness, stating hiding is pointless due to their strength. And he faces it like this. Emptiness, and he says that hiding is not necessary because their people are very strong. As he finishes speaking, smug demons appear. The leader on horseback says, "Can you believe there is one useful person here?" Sun responds, "Calling us trash? Let's go." The hunters are surprised, not understanding what is happening. Sun says, "You're calling us trash? Let's go." The hunters are surprised because they don't understand anything that's happening. At that moment, the demon leader says to Sun, "Welcome to us." She asks, "How are you able to understand the language of the monsters and talk to them like this?" Sun himself is processing the situation and concludes that this is definitely due to the system. The demon leader says understanding helps. He points to the attacker, curious. They learn a human wants to fight. Sun beheads the demon, saying, "Look." The leader laughs. Sun attacks. And they knew that there was a strong person among the people and he wanted to confront them in a fight. He continues his speech because Sun swiftly decapitates the demon in the blink of an eye and says to the leader, "Look at that." The leader laughs, enjoying the moment. Sun then attacks him with a quick strike, but the leader blocks the attack and mounts the horse that Sun killed during his assault, still smiling as he says, "Sun, why are you hanging out with these humans when you're not even human yourself?" This leaves Sun looking surprised. The demon leader says, "Even you don't know? Well, let me tell you about the truth. Inside our heads as monsters, we hear voices that talk to us all the time, commanding us to kill humans. But in your presence, I don't hear that voice right now. Inside our heads as monsters, we hear voices that talk to us all the time, commanding us to kill humans, but in your presence, I don't hear that voice right now." He thinks the voice might be a system message he can't hear while playing. The demon leader wants no unnecessary losses and asks San to hand over the humans. He questions, "Who are you, kid? And who are those behind you?" San stands confused, thinking, "What's happening?" As the demon leader finishes, San, "They want to kill my friends," coming with the demon leader, but his words are tangled. San stands confused, thinking, "What's happening? Who are these people?" As the demon leader finishes, San says, "I don't agree with you." He asks, "Do you think you can direct me and my army alone here?" San smirks, "You think this is an army? Look!" Shadows fill the place, and the shadow army appears, fear on the hunters' faces. The demon leader says, "San, do you think this trick will work on me?" He gestures to attack and the battle begins. The hunters flee, caught off guard. Demons try to kill them, but San moves swiftly, grabs an arrow, and plunges it into a chest. He deals with demons using his dagger, watching the battle, knowing the demon leader. He signals his soldiers to attack. The hunters are caught off guard and flee. Demons pursue them, but San moves swiftly, catches an arrow, and strikes the first enemy. He then uses his dagger against the demons. The demon leader charges, spots San, and attacks. San blocks but is pushed back. The leader, Baruka, introduces himself and asks San's name. San replies, draws his second dagger. Baruka lunges, laughing. San dodges, spins, and attacks, but Baruka evades and steps on San's dagger. Of course, the leader is much stronger, and defeating him will be very difficult, even if he collaborates with Ergas. The regular soldiers won't be effective in this fight. The demon leader was charging into the shadow army, and as soon as he spots San, he attacks him. San blocks the attack but is pushed back by the force of it. At that moment, the demon leader gestures with his dagger and introduces himself as Baruka, asking San for his name. San tells him his name and pulls out his second dagger, getting ready for the fight. Suddenly, Baruka launches at San like an arrow, laughing as he does so. San dodges the attack and spins in the air, coming down with his dagger, but Baruka evades the attack at the last moment, stepping on the dagger to prevent San from moving. With the same smile, San attacks with all his strength. San returns the dagger to his sheath, summons someone new, and launches a counter-attack against Baruka. At that moment, Baruka barely dodges the attack and worry shows on his face. The deadly duel continues between the two until Baruka manages to strike San with a powerful kick, realizing that he hasn't enjoyed a fight like this in a long time. But he cuts off his own words when he sees a massive fireball descending on him. At the same moment, he remembers the last thing he saw was San. He's marked. When Mosin calls out with hatred, San is worried. He runs towards him. At that moment, San was thinking about the state of the battle because he was hoping that his soldiers could hold Baruka off longer than this, but that didn't happen. Baruka survives the explosion and heads towards San. Kim runs at the same time, Kim was running towards him to kill him, so San was trapped from both sides. Despite all this, San remains completely calm, and from his movements, ice begins to emerge, blocking the view between him and Baruka. But Broka doesn't care about that. He attacks fiercely at Sun, who is supposed to be hiding behind this curtain, but he's shocked when he finds a new shadow soldier standing in front of him. Of course, you guys are surprised too, because to understand what happened, he went back a few seconds, specifically before the ice curtain appeared. As soon as Sun saw Kim coming at him, he expected a move like that. Ergas shows up and strikes him with a sword, creating an ice curtain to block Broka's view. And from the delay, he stabs Kim with his sword and takes him out. Just as Kim's life is about to end, Sun uses his Shadow Lord powers to summon his shadow. And now we know where this new shadow came from. Now let's go back to the present and see Kim's shadow attacking Broca with his sword with all its might. Broca blocks the attack pushed back by the force, and Sun stands next to Kim's shadow, introducing a new name, Iron. Iron uses the provocation skill to attract Broca's attention, who attacks him fiercely from every direction thanks to his great speed, but Iron withstands Broca's attacks thanks to his iron defenses, especially since his strength has increased after he became a shadow and responds with a stronger attack. Broca. The ground is retreating quickly to dodge John easily. He says that someone as slow as John will never pose a threat to him. At that moment, the hunters are standing back watching from a distance, and Sun says, "Hey Jin, all the hunters are getting killed this way." Heijin replies, "If the hunters have to kill him like Sun, then no one would be a hunter at all." Meanwhile, Broca tells Sun that Iron alone isn't enough to face him and asks him to bring in the battle along with Ergas, who is standing next to him. Of course, Sun doesn't wait and attacks him, and Ergas is ready to back him up. Why is the question so serious despite that? Baruka skillfully dodges and blocks attacks until Iron provokes him again, forcing Baruka to retaliate. Ergas seizes this moment for a surprise attack, but Baruka's instincts and speed help him evade. However, Sun attacks from an unexpected angle, and Baruka narrowly dodges a lethal strike, getting stabbed in the shoulder instead of the heart. Baruka smirks. "You're overestimating your abilities." Sun smiles back. "True, but look around you." Baruka sees his soldiers are wiped out and charges at Sun in rage, calling them worthless. Sun throws a dagger, which Baruka dodges, but Sun controls it to attack again. Baruka blocks it, breaking the dagger. Iron binds Baruka, and Sun's army attacks, causing an explosion. Baruka defeats Iron, weakened, and vows to eliminate them all, but stops when he notices. After that, all your soldiers can do is look around. Baruka sees his soldiers are wiped out and charges at Sun, calling them worthless for disappearing and not killing him. Sun throws his dagger at Baruka, who dodges it, saying, "You're foolish to throw your weapon now." But Sun uses his skill to control the dagger from afar, attacking again. Baruka twists and blocks it, breaking the dagger. At Sun's command, Iron binds Baruka. Meanwhile, Sun's shadows attack, causing a massive explosion. Baruka takes out Iron, weakened, and angrily declares he will eliminate them all, but stops when he notices. He twists at the last moment and blocks the dagger, resulting in it breaking. At Sun's command, Iron appears and binds Baruka with all his might. At the same time, all the shadows in Sun's army attack them both with their full strength, leading to a massive explosion. In the midst of all this, Baruka takes out Iron, who has lost a significant amount of his power, and after this attack, he angrily declares that he will eliminate them all, but he cuts himself off when he notices. Sun finds a dagger that appeared out of nowhere stuck in his side, and he says, "I brought the needle." The other replies, "Turn it into experience points, get lost you fool." And Sun disappears, quietly distancing himself. At that moment, Iron comes down on him with his axe and finishes him off. Sun stands there turning his back, saying, "Didn't I tell you that your end is inevitable, teacher?" But he's surprised to see Iron still beating on Baruka's body. He tries to intervene, saying, "Take it easy, don't be as stupid as you were. You're alive, they're watching Argus. Yesterday Argus turns and walks around saying to himself, "This guy is stupid, alive and dead." Iran sits and celebrates the victory with the desert. Sun joins his team, relieved. They celebrate with flowers. Sun sees Baruka's body, realizing he has more to do. Yun stands at the gate, told they. He looks at Baruka's body. Meanwhile, Yun waits at the gate. The guy tells him, "We have 7 hours, a week inside." He suggests Yun rest. Suddenly, the gate changes, and people emerge. They're shocked to see Hagen and her group. They reassure each other, asking about survivors, pointing to the gate. Sun and others exit, and the gate vanishes. Joy fills the guy's face. He asks, "Where are the others?" They reply all died inside, leaving him in disbelief that only a few hunters survived. He reassures them, asks about survivors, and points to the gate. Sun and the others come out, and the gate disappears. Joy spreads across the face of the guy who was expecting Sun to survive. He asks them in disbelief, "Where are Kim and the rest of the hunters?" They answer that they all died inside, and he is on the verge of madness, unable to believe that the few hunters who returned are the only ones who survived while the rest are dead. Sun drops off Sunji and meets Yunho, who insists on talking. Sun, annoyed, tells him to ask his guild. Yunho mentions his team's loss, seeking answers. Sun, feeling unappreciated, is about to react when Yunho apologizes and leaves. Sun drives off with Sunji, who thanks him. Yunho discusses Sun. Yoon notices Sun's commanding tone and demands to know about his 9 fallen hunters. Sun, feeling unappreciated, glares back. Yoon apologizes and leaves. Sun drives off with Sunji. Yoon asks Hae-jin about the hunter who avoids others. She explains Sun's mood changed after defeating the cave leader. Yoon urges Sang to bring Sun back to the guild. Sun drops Sunji home and she thanks him, promising to rely on him. Sun reflects on his failed plan and his need to grow stronger. At home, he acknowledges his 3rd human kill and wonders about his future challenges. Yunho asks Hae-jin, "Who's the hunter that can't stand talking to anyone?" Hae-jin says after Sun defeated the cave leader, he said something strange 3 times, changing his mood completely. Yunho then tells Sang to do whatever it takes to get Sun back to his guild. Meanwhile, Sun drops Sunji at her house. She thanks him and says she'll rely on him from now on. Sun's shooting plan didn't fail. Sun heads home looking. Sun continues his way home and looks at his Baroka dagger that he won from the killer and thinks about his failure in summoning Baroka's shadow with his hands and says that he is still weak and is wasting all his attempts in vain and he must become stronger. At home, he washes his face and looks in the mirror and says that this is the 3rd time he has killed a human. I wonder what is happening and who is waiting for Sun in his next cave. With his current strength, this is where our journey ends for today, and this wraps up the summary of today's episode. Don't forget, if you enjoyed it, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to get all the latest updates. Take care and peace.